Welcome to the Meeting House Theater Lab President's Day reading. We had originally intended this to be a collection of historical addresses from American presidents. It's kind of expanded to historical addresses throughout all of history, and as well as some song and some solo piano pieces, so it's kind of a very varied program. I hope you enjoy it. I think it'll be great. So we'll start with some Aaron Copland art songs, and we will intersperse some readings between the music. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah.
So we've got three songs tonight that are going to be interspersed through the readings. They're all part of the Aaron Copland Old American songs. The first one is Simple Gifts. Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift to come down where you ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. 'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where you ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round
Next we have a speech given by Elizabeth I of England.
Just to give you a little bit of background, kind of place this into its historical context, this was the year 1588. The Spanish Armada had just been defeated, and they were limping back along the coast of Scotland, up north, along the coast of Scotland, back to Spain. The English were concerned, however, that they would attack them again on their way back. So they were worried about another attack, so that they had massed an army around Dunkirk. So what happened, this is a kind of an interesting quote I'm going to read you from Lionel Sharp, who was attached to the Earl of Leicester, who actually attended the Queen Elizabeth. So he says that, here's the quote from him in his diary: "The Queen, the next morning, rode through all the squadrons of her army as armed palace, attended by noble footmen, Leicester, Essex, and Norris, where she made an excellent oration to the army." So she went through the troops, and after she had reviewed the troops, and I have to tell you, she wore a white velvet gown with a silver cuirass, which is like the armor, breastplate armor, a silver helmet with a plume, and rode a white steed. So plus she carried a truncheon that was all gold. So she made a big impression, I'm sure. So this is what Elizabeth said. My loving people, we have been persuaded by some that are careful of our safety to take heed how we commit ourselves to armed multitudes for fear of treachery. But I assure you, I do not desire to live to distrust my faithful and loving people. Let tyrants fear. I have always so behaved myself that under God I have placed my chiefest strength and safeguard in the loyal hearts and in the goodwill of my subjects. And therefore I am come amongst you, as you see at this time, not for my recreation or disport, but being resolved in the midst and heat of this battle to live and to die amongst you, to lay down for my God and for my kingdom and my people, my honor and my blood, if even in the dust. I know I have the body of a weak, feeble woman, but I've got the heart and stomach of a king, and a king of England, too. And think foul scorn that Parma or Spain or any prince of Europe should dare to invade the borders of my realm, to which, rather than any dishonor should fall by me, I myself will take up arms. I myself will be your general, your judge, and rewarder of every one of your virtues in the field. I know already, for your forwardness, you have deserved rewards and crowns, and we do assure you, on the word of a prince, they shall be duly paid. In the meantime, my lieutenant general shall be in my stead. Then, whom never prince commanded a more noble or worthy subject, not doubting, but by your obedience to my general, by your concord in the camp, and your valor in the field, we shall shortly have a famous victory over these enemies of my God, my kingdom, and my people.
This next song is called Long Time Ago, and it's something I recently discovered when I was doing a little research into some of the music during my favorite president's time, which is President Lincoln. And he was a huge music lover, which I didn't actually know. He was enamored with all kinds of music, and he frequently listened to ballads and folk songs similar to the one that we're about to sing. So this is Long Time Ago.
The rock through
coming in just 1 second.
The following speech was made by Malala Yousafzai to the Youth Takeover at the United Nations on July 12, 2013, on her 16th birthday. I don't know where to begin my speech. I don't know what people would be expecting me to say. But first of all, thank you to God, for whom we are all equal. And thank you to every person who has prayed for my fast recovery and a new life. I cannot believe how much love people have shown me. I've received thousands of good wish cards and gifts from all over the world. Thank you to all of them. Thank you to the children whose innocent words encouraged me. Thank you to my elders whose prayers strengthened me. Dear brothers and sisters, do remember one thing. Malala Day is not my day. Today is a day for every woman, every boy, and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights. There are hundreds of human rights activists and social workers who are not only speaking for human rights, but who are struggling to achieve their goals of education, peace, and equality. Thousands of people have been killed by terrorists, and millions have been injured. I am just one of them. So here I stand, one girl among many. I speak not for myself, but for all girls and boys. I raise up my voice, not so I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. Those who have fought for their rights, their right to live in peace, their right to be treated with dignity, their right to equality of opportunity, their right to be educated. Dear friends, on the 9th of October, 2012, the Taliban shot me on the left side of my forehead. They shot my friends too. They thought the bullets would silence us, but they failed. And then, out of that silence came thousands of voices. The terrorists thought they would change our aims and stop our ambitions, but nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage were born. I am the same Malala. My ambitions are the same. My hopes are the same. My dreams are the same. Dear brothers and sisters, I am not against anyone. Neither am I here to speak in terms of personal revenge against the Taliban or any other terrorist group. I am here to speak up for the right of education for every child. I want education for the sons and the daughters of the extremists, especially the Taliban. I do not hate the Talib who shot me. Even if there is a gun in my hand and he stands in front of me, I would not shoot him. This is the compassion that I have learned from Muhammad, the prophet of mercy, Jesus Christ, and Lord Buddha. This is the legacy of change that I have inherited from Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. This is the philosophy of nonviolence that I have learned from Gandhiji, Baka Khan, and Mother Teresa. And this is the forgiveness that I have learned from my father and my mother. This is what my soul is telling me: be peaceful and love everyone. Dear sisters and brothers, we realize the importance of light when we see darkness. We realize the importance of our voice when we're silenced. In the same way, when we were in Swat, north of Pakistan, we realized the importance of pens and books when we saw guns. The wise saying, "the pen is mightier than the sword," was true. The extremists are afraid of books and pens. The power of education frightens them. They are afraid of women. The power of the voice of women frightens them. And that is why they killed 14 innocent medical students in a recent attack. And that is why they killed many female teachers and polio workers. That is why they are blasting schools every day. Because they were, and they are, afraid of change. Afraid of the equality that we will bring to our society. I remember there was a boy in our school who was asked by a journalist, "Why are the Taliban against education?" He answered very simply. By pointing to his book, he said, "A Talib doesn't know what is written inside this book." They think God is a tiny little conservative being who would send girls to hell just because of going to school. The terrorists are misusing the name of Islam and Pashtun society for their own personal benefits. Pakistan is a peace-loving, democratic country. Pashtuns want education for their daughters and sons, and Islam is a religion of peace, humanity, and brotherhood. Islam says that it is not only each child's right to get an education, rather it is their duty and their responsibility. Honorable Secretary General, peace is necessary for education. In many parts of the world, especially Pakistan and Afghanistan, terrorism, wars, and conflicts stop children from going to their schools. We are really tired of these wars. Women and children are suffering in many parts of the world in many ways. In India, innocent and poor children are victims of child labor. Many schools have been destroyed in Nigeria. People in Afghanistan have been affected by the hurdles of extremism for decades. Young girls have to do domestic child labor and are forced to get married at an early age. Poverty, ignorance, injustice, racism, and the deprivation of basic rights are the main problems faced by both men and women. Dear fellows, today I'm focusing on human rights, mainly women's rights, and girls' education because they are suffering the most. There was a time when women's social activists asked men to stand up for their rights. But this time we will do it by ourselves. I'm not telling men to step away from speaking for women's rights. Rather, I'm focusing on women to be independent, to fight for themselves. Dear sisters and brothers, now it's time to speak up. So today we call upon the world leaders to change their strategic policies in favor of peace and prosperity. We call upon the world leaders that all the peace deals must protect women and children's rights. A deal that goes against the dignity of women and their rights is unacceptable. We call upon all governments to ensure free compulsory education for every child all over the world. We call upon all governments to fight against terrorism and violence, to protect children from brutality and harm. We call upon the developed nations to support the expansion of educational opportunities for girls in the developing world. We call upon all communities to be tolerant, to reject prejudice based on caste, creed, sex, religion, or gender, to ensure freedom and equality for women so that they can flourish. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. We call upon our sisters around the world to be brave, to embrace the strength within themselves and realize their full potential. Dear brothers and sisters, we want schools and education for every child's bright future. We will continue our journey to our destination of peace and education for everyone. No one can stop us. We will speak for our rights and we will bring change through our voice. We must believe in the power and the strength of our words. Our words can change the world. And if we want to achieve our goal, let us then empower ourselves with the weapon of knowledge and let us shield ourselves with unity and togetherness. Dear brothers and sisters, we must not forget that millions of people are suffering from poverty, injustice, and ignorance. We must not forget that millions of children are out of schools. We must not forget that our sisters and brothers are waiting for a bright, peaceful future. So let us wage a global struggle against illiteracy, poverty, and terrorism, and let us pick up our books and pens. They are our most powerful weapons. One child, one teacher, one pen, one book can change the world. Education is the only solution. Education first.
This last song from Copeland barely needs an introduction. It's a very well-known and beloved old hymn tune called At the River.
Shall we gather by the river, where bright angels' feet have trod, with its crystal tide forever flowing by the throne of God? Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints by the river that flows by the throne of God. Soon we'll reach the shining river. Soon our pilgrimage will cease. Soon our happy hearts will quiver with the melody of peace. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints by the river that flows by the throne of God, that flows by the throne of God.
So the last piece of the program is a set of speeches that I'm going to read, and then we'll end with a piece, a solo piano piece, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. Just to give you a little bit of a background about these speeches, this is a collection that I have named 3 Republicans, and it's not intended to make any kind of a political statement. It's just to give kind of a view of the Republican Party throughout the history of the country for the past 160 years. So I hope you enjoy them. They'll be pretty obvious who they're by, and I'll tell you after just to confirm. We come to Berlin, we American presidents, because it is our duty to speak in this place of freedom. But I must confess, we are drawn here by other things as well, by the feeling of history in this city, more than 500 years older than our nation, by the beauty of the Grunwald and the Tiergarten, most of all, by your courage and determination. Perhaps the composer Paul Linke understood something about American presidents. You see, like so many presidents before me, I come here today because wherever I go, whatever I do, ich habe noch ein Koffer in Berlin. Our gathering today is being broadcast throughout Western Europe and North America. I understand that it is being seen and heard in the East as well. To those listening in Eastern Europe, a special word. Although I cannot be with you, I address my remarks to you just as surely as to those standing here before me. For I join you as I join your fellow countrymen in the West in this firm, this unalterable belief. Es gibt nur ein Berlin. Behind me stands a wall that encircles the three sectors of this city, part of a vast system of barriers that divides the entire continent of Europe. From the Baltic south, those barriers cut across Germany in a gash of barbed wire, concrete, dog runs, and guard towers. Farther south, there may be no visible barrier, no obvious wall, but there remain armed guards and checkpoints all the same. Still a restriction on the right to travel, still an instrument to impose upon ordinary men and women the will of a totalitarian state. Yet it is here in Berlin where the wall emerges most clearly. Here, cutting across the city, where the news, photo, and television screens have imprinted this brutal division of a continent upon the mind of the world. Standing before the Brandenburg Gate, every man is a German, separated from his fellow men. Every man is a Berliner, forced to look upon a scar. And now the Soviets in themselves, in some way, may be coming to understand the importance of freedom. We hear much from Moscow about a new policy of reform and openness. Some political prisoners have been released. Certain foreign news broadcasts are no longer jammed. Some economic enterprises have been permitted to operate with greater freedom from state control. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate, Mr. Gorbachev. Open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. As I looked out a moment ago from the Reichstag, the embodiment of German unity, I noticed words crudely spray-painted on the wall, perhaps by a young Berliner. This wall will fall. Belief becomes reality. Yet across Europe, this wall will fall. The belief becomes reality. Yet across Europe, this wall will fall, for it cannot withstand faith. It cannot withstand truth. The wall cannot withstand freedom. And I would like, before I close, to say one word. I have read, and I have been questioned since I have been here, about certain demonstrations against my coming. And I would like to say just one thing, and to those who demonstrate so. I wonder if they have ever asked themselves that if they should have the kind of government they seek, no one would ever be able to do what they are doing again. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Milwaukee. Hello. We have eliminated a record number of job-destroying regulations. I brought back the old light bulb. Better light for much less money. If you want it, right? Little things. Somebody said, "Oh, sir, don't mention the light bulb. It's hard to make an elegant speech." I'm saying I brought back the light bulb. So the new light bulb costs you 5 times as much and makes you look orange. But I'm also approving new dishwashers that give you more water so you can actually wash and rinse your dishes without having to do it 10 times, or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know this doesn't matter, but I said leave it. It's so inelegant to talk about, right? Right? Isn't it inelegant? I'm talking about dishwashers. Wait till you hear the next one. I'm talking about refrigerators. Probably wanting to say to the union, I'll leave it out because I want to get praise for making a... You cannot make a brilliant speech when they say that's such an incredible, elegant speech if I'm talking about dishwashers, sinks, toilets, light bulbs. But sinks, toilets, and showers, you don't get any water. They put restrictors on, and now they made them permanent. People used to take them out. They put restrictors on. Try and buy a new faucet. You turn it on, no water comes out, right? We won't talk about toilets, but you know that's 10, 15. We don't talk about that because I've said 3 or 4 times the only subject that we ever talk about is toilets. So I don't mention, but how about the shower? You go in the shower, and I have this beautiful head of hair. I need a lot of water. I need water. You go into the shower, right? You turn on the water. Drip, drip, drip. I called the guy. Something's wrong with this. No, sir, it's just the restrictor. So you're going in there 5 times longer than you're supposed to be. You use probably more water, and it's a very unpleasant experience, right? So we're getting rid of restrictors. You're going to have a full shower, full flow, full sink. America is thriving like never before because we're working together. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again, and we will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Wisconsin. Thank you. At this second appearing to take the oath of the presidential office, there is less occasion for an extended address than there was at the first. Then, a statement, somewhat in detail, of a course to be pursued seemed fitting and proper. Now, at the expiration of 4 years, during which public declarations have been constantly called forth on every point and phrase of the great contest which still absorbs the attention and engrosses the energies of the nation, little that is new could be presented. The progress of our arms, upon which all else chiefly depends, is well known to the public, as it is to myself, and I trust reasonably satisfactory and encouraging to all. With high hope for the future, no prediction in this regard is ventured. On the occasion corresponding to this 4 years ago, all thoughts were anxiously directed to an impending civil war. All dreaded it, all sought to avert it. While the inaugural address was being delivered from this place, devoted altogether to saving the Union without war, insurgent agents were in the city seeking to destroy it without war, seeking to dissolve the Union and divide effects by negotiation. Both parties deprecated war, but one would rather make war than let the nation survive, and the other would accept war rather than let it perish. And the war came. 1/8 of the whole population were colored slaves, not distributed generally over the Union, but localized in the southern half part of it. These slaves constituted a peculiar and powerful interest. All knew that this interest was, somehow, the cause of the war. To strengthen, perpetuate, and extend this interest was the object for which the insurgents would rend the Union, even by war, while the government claimed no right to do more than to restrict its territorial enlargement. Neither party expected the war, the magnitude or duration which it has already attained. Neither anticipated the cause of the conflict might cease with or even before the conflict itself should cease. Each looked for an easier triumph and a result less fundamental and astounding. Both read the same Bible and prayed to the same God, and each invokes his name against the other. It may seem strange that any men should dare to ask a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces. But let us not judge, not that we be not judged. The prayers of both could not be answered. That of neither has been fully answered. The Almighty has his own purposes. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offense come, but woe to the man by whom the offense cometh. If we shall suppose that American slavery is one of those offenses which, in the providence of God, must needs come, by which, having continued throughout his appointed time, he now wills to remove, and that he gives to both North and South this terrible war, as the woe due to those by whom the offense came, shall we not discern therein any departure from those divine attributes which the believers in a living God always ascribe to him? Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. Yet if God wills it to continue until the wealth piled by the bondsman's 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword, as was said 3,000 years ago, so still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to achieve and cherish a lasting peace among ourselves and with the world, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with the world, all nations. So in case there was any confusion about the speeches, the first one was Reagan, the second one was Trump, and the last one was Lincoln. Now, to go along with the idea of Lincoln, we're going to end the program with a piece that Lincoln heard performed in 1863, which he enjoyed very much, by the composer Louis Moreau Gottschalk, who toured throughout the whole Civil War and had a very, very interesting life in terms of his tours and stuff like that. But I'm not going to say more about it. I think you will recognize some of the themes, and you will enjoy it like Lincoln did. So thank you all for streaming. Thank you for the small group who's here, who's mostly our Alliant performers. And I hope that you'll join us again sometime in the future. Hope you enjoyed the performance. Thanks so much.